So much has changed over the last week of fantasy hockey, and we want to keep you updated as much as we can. From injury to $5 million players getting sent down to the waivers, I'm going to be giving you my favorite 8 players that you need to be adding before week 6. My name's Mike. Sit back, relax, and enjoy the video. Brock Nelson each and every season continues to be disrespected, and I really don't know why. I'm kind of speculating that because he plays in the New York Islanders, he's not really a big name, and because Bo Horvat is the 1C on the Islanders, that people just tend to forget about him. But there is no reason why he should be rostered under 80% on Yahoo right now. In 8 to 12 team leagues, he's likely available, and this is a guy you need to be adding to your roster. I do know the center position is very full, but if you're looking for a player that just gives you a ton of shot upside and a ton of goal upside, this is your guy. Right now this season, he has the 11th best shot rate, top 15 in shot attempts, and he has the 40th best goal rate. He's coming off back-to-back seasons with 36 goals and 37 goals, and last season, he had 37 goals and over 200 shots. He was a top 100 player in most leagues, and this year, he's actually managed to raise that shot rate, which is a great indicator of success for Brock Nelson. As of time of recording, his shot rate sits at 11.7 shots per 60, an increase of plus 2.9 from 2022, and his current pace is 41 goals and 280 shots. He is one of the highest floor players in the entire league. He's only missed 3 games over the last 3 seasons, giving him a very high reliability percentage, which we like to use to calculate players that are just injured or are very healthy. He is a must-add player in 12-plus team leagues. If you're in a 12-plus team league and he's on your waiver wire, make sure you add him. And if you have any questions, always let me know in the comment section below of who you should drop in place of Brock Nelson or any other players in this video. I may be a little late to the Antti Raanta conversation, but I was out of town over the last week and I was unable to really post any videos. But with Raanta here, we do know that Frederik Andersen is now placed on the LTIR. He's out with no timetable to return, a very, very unfortunate injury. But for us in fantasy, we now have a goalie that is going to be a starter on a top 5 team, a top 5 defensive team, and there's a huge upside right here. I'm sure many of you right now are currently assessing your goalie situation. It's just been a complete mystery. If you didn't draft Ottinger or any of the big 4 goalies, then your goalie situation probably isn't too ideal unless you have Thatcher Demko. But with Raanta here, we now get a #1 goalie potentially off the waiver wires that should finish as a top 5 to 10 goalie. Again, it really depends on if he gets starts. We do know there have been some struggles with the Carolina Hurricanes goaltending, but as a team, they are extremely good. They are currently first for Corsi for percentage, the only team with over 60 Corsi for, first for shots for percentage, and 7th for expected goals for percentage, meaning the team in front of the goaltending is extremely good, which should then result in the goaltending being very strong. And that's what we saw with Raanta last season, a 19-3-3 record, a 910 save percentage, and a 223 goals against average. The save percentage isn't anything to write home about, but a goalie with that good of win percentage and that good of a goals against average, he was worth rostering all of last season as your goalie 3 in categories leagues. With Raanta here, definitely someone I want to be adding. Carolina Hurricanes are an extremely good team, the 3rd best win percentage over the last 3 seasons. If you're in 10 plus or 12 plus team leagues, he is definitely a guy you need to be rostering if he's available. I'm assuming in the 14 plus team leagues he's already taken, and for good reason. But for right now, he's one of not the best goalies available in free agency, and you need to be adding him to your roster. Another player that's benefiting off of an injury, we saw Artturi Lehkonen go down in Thursday night's game, and he was sent to the hospital. So his current status is day-to-day. I'm really hoping for the best because I do own Lehkonen in quite a few leagues, and I'm really, really high on him this season. But what we saw when he left the game was Valeri Nichushkin stepped in, played line 1 with McKinnon, Rantanen, and was playing on the top power play unit. And that's what we saw last season, which led to his, I would say, mini breakout, given he only played 53 games. But in those 53 games, he had a 0.89 points per game and a 2.98 shots per game, which is a 73.244 shot on goal pace. And that's extremely valuable for a player that you could potentially be adding off of your waiver wire. Now, he's on the top power play unit, and Colorado as a team this season hasn't really been good on the power play. They have the 22nd most efficient power play in 2023. but over the last 2 seasons, they have the 10th most efficient power play, and that should really help Nichushkin and his upside in terms of scoring goals, getting assists, and getting good quality shots on net. Now, for right now, I would say he's a short to medium term add, given we don't really know the status of Artturi Lehkonen. But under the assumption that Lehkonen may end up on the IR, Nichushkin becomes a very, very solid short to medium term add and a guy with huge upside in his current role. He's a must-have player in 12-plus team leagues. He's being dropped by a lot of people right now. I just went and looked on Yahoo, and his ownership percentage is down 10% over the last week. So hopefully we start to see this come up, given the opportunity we're going to see from him. And hopefully, if Lehkonen is on the IR, you get a guy with huge upside over the next 10 to 15 games. Jake Walman's season is officially here. He was always a guy when he was in St. Louis that I had my eye on, just because he always had a weirdly good shot rate, and that's because he has one of the hardest slap shots in the entire NHL. I have a friend that's a diehard Wings fan. He predicted the Mort Seider breakout. He predicted the Larkin and DeBrincat breakout this season. And he also drafted Jake Walman at just 1% rostered in a 12-team league, and I didn't really know why. And he has been extremely good. So if you guys have Wings fans that are extremely biased, make sure you listen to them. That's what I've taken in. But so far this season with Walman, 14 games played, 6 points, 25 shots on goal, 38 blocks, and averaging around 21 minutes time on ice. Now, in the last game, Gustafsson was scratched. We know right now with Gustafsson, he is manning the top power play unit. And with him out of the lineup, Walman and Seider were both on the top power play unit. And Walman last game played around 24 minutes, which is extremely good given his current shot and block rate. He's the only defenseman in the league right now with 25 plus shots and 35 plus blocks. So if you're in those points leagues that count blocks, he's an extremely valuable defenseman. But now add the opportunity of him playing on the top power play unit, which we know has been pretty solid this season. The upside is massive for Walman right now. Historically, like I said, when he was back in St. Louis, he had a very high shot and block rate as a defenseman. He's very well rounded. He'll give you peripherals, and now added this point upside with potential in the top power play unit in the short term. There is a lot of upside to like from Jake Walman. He's a must-add player in 12-plus team leagues. I'm very surprised to see him at 28% roster percentage, but apparently a lot of people do play in those block leagues, and because he's been a top 5 shot blocker this season, that roster percentage is starting to finally get up there. Another player that I'm a little late to the party on, and Chris did mention him in the last video, so hopefully you got to add him before your league mates did and before that roster percentage got way up there, with the unfortunate news that Adam Fox is placed on the long-term injury reserve after that kind of scary hit from Sebastian Aho. I don't think it was very intentional. Erik Gustafsson becomes a must-add player. This opens up the door for him to now man that top power play unit, which we know he's had a ton of success in his entire career as a power play 1 quarterback defenseman. It's a really odd case. It's almost like Jake Gardiner with the Leafs and with Carolina, where he's best on the top power play unit and then kind of irrelevant everywhere else. But with Erik Gustafsson, just last season, we saw him step into a similar role when John Carlson went down with injury. Carlson was out for about 3 to 4 months, and with Gustafsson filling that role from December 23rd to March 2nd when he was traded to the Toronto Maple Leafs, in that span playing power play 1 and a top pair role with the Washington Capitals, 28 games played, 3 goals, 22 points, 56 shots on goal, and 7 power play points. He was a top 10 scoring defenseman in that time, close to a point per game, and I expect to see the same or even better results here on a Rangers team that has the 5th most efficient power play since 2022. Now, obviously with Erik Gustafsson there, it should make the power play a little less efficient compared to Adam Fox, who has been manning that power play unit since he joined the Rangers. But with Gustafsson here, there's just massive upside on a team that has been extremely good to start the season. Erik Gustafsson has been very good since Adam Fox has been placed on the LTIR, 4 points in 20 minutes in those 3 games since injury. I expect this roster percentage to start to skyrocket over the next week or 2 weeks, really depending on how he plays in the next coming weeks. But he's a must-add player in 12-plus team leagues. I feel like there are a lot of defensemen to go around right now, and it's going to be hard to make room for him. So as always, guys, just leave a comment below if you're questioning any of your defensemen or forwards that you need to be dropping to add Erik Gustafsson to your roster, as he is a must-roster player right now. Whoa. That's me dodging tomatoes because you guys are just not going to be happy with my Sam Bennett takes, my Sam Bennett love. I know I had him as a league winner and a player I just like so much in fantasy hockey. I just want to see him healthy. He's made of glass, and I get the frustration, but the upside is still massive for Sam Bennett. Now, news came out that him and Montour are projected back at the end of their California road trip, which projects to be November 20th. So 10 days from recording of this video. It should be posted on Friday, November 10th. That gives you time to add him before your league mates do and before that roster percentage really starts to go up. When healthy, Sam Bennett is a top 50 fantasy points per game player in standard Yahoo leagues. We project him out over the last 3 seasons, and we've taken injury into account, and he's still a top 50 fantasy points per game player. He is one of just 3 players in the NHL with 10 plus shots per 60 and 8 plus hits per 60, behind only Brady Tkachuk and Evander Kane. This is elite company. 2 guys that finish. Brady Tkachuk in bangers leagues usually finish as a top 5 to 10 player, with Evander around top 50. Sam Bennett has this much upside, especially when he's projected to center Carter Verhaeghe and Matthew Tkachuk on the second line. He played just 7 minutes in his first game prior to injury. He was injured on a really unfortunate Hampus Lindholm stepped on his ankle, but in that time he had 11 shots for and 1 shot against when playing 5-on-5. It's also interesting to note that he did skate a little bit on the top power play unit. It seemed a little mixed, but he did spend time with Matt Tkachuk and Carter Verhaeghe on the power play. But with Sam Bennett here, I do think he could be a league winner for the rest of the season. If we can see 60 to 65 games, he can put up a ton of fantasy points for you, get you a bunch of shots and hits, and hopefully point upside playing with a 100-point player in Matt Tkachuk. He's a must-add player in 12-plus team leagues. I'm going to continue to recommend Sam Bennett until we finally see the breakout that we've been waiting for with him. In those 12-plus team leagues, if you're not currently stashing him and he's available, make sure you pick him up, add him to your IR plus, add him to your IR, do something to get him on your roster because he is such a beast for the rest of the season if he can stay healthy. Nino Niederreiter and the entire Winnipeg Jets have been actually really solid over the last 4 games. They're on a 4-game win streak, and Niederreiter has played a big part in their success. The minutes and opportunity for Niederreiter are starting to scale up. A guy who historically has a very elite shot and hit rate, and that's what we're seeing this season. In just last year, he had 24 goals, 181 shots, and 165 hits. Very close to the elusive 200 shot, 100 hit club, which we love here at Fantasy Puck. Those are players that you want to be targeting, especially in leagues that do count shots and hits. So far this season, he's a 12.13 shots per 60 rate at 5-on-5. He ranks 12th in the league. For me, I always use shots as an indicator for players' success. If they're not shooting pucks in the net, they're not getting good scoring opportunities, and ultimately they're not going to contribute for you in fantasy. Now, he is one of just 12 players this season with a 10-plus shot per 60 rate and a 4.5 hit per 60 rate. Very strong company for a player that's just 19% rostered. His upside this year, 50-plus points, 200-plus shots, and 150-plus hits. I would love to see him get moved up into more of a top 6 role, a potentially power play 1 role, but we do know that Jets power play 1 is a little bit stuffed, and we're not sure when Valeri returns to the lineup, but that may hurt Nino's value. But in the short term, he's been extremely strong. He's been a very good fantasy asset. He's a must-add player in those deeper leagues, 14-plus team leagues. I would definitely be looking to put Nino Niederreiter on your roster. Don't worry, deep league managers, I didn't forget about you, and hopefully you made it this far to hear me talk about a guy that I personally love, Arthur Kaliyev of the LA Kings. Each and every preseason, I make a list of players I think are going to break out this year, and he has made the list for the last 2 seasons, yet LA continues to play him around 11 to 12 minutes per night, and it really makes no sense to me. But this year, we finally have seen the change. He's finally getting the opportunity. He's like a Daniel Sprong where he has very elite underlying numbers, very elite metrics, but he just doesn't play any minutes. Since 2021, Arthur Kaliyev, the 19th best shot rate in the entire NHL. Just last season, 13 goals, 28 points, 122 shots on goal, while playing 11 minutes per night. Imagine how difficult that is to play on a 4th line and really not see much time in the 3rd period and still have a very strong season. He's averaging 14 minutes and 43 seconds time on ice this season. It's gone up considerably over the last 10 games. He's at a career high in minutes right now, and over those last 10 games, he's sitting at around 16 plus minutes per night. In just the last game against the Pittsburgh Penguins, he played 16:40. For 2023, I do see a bunch of upside from Kaliyev moving forward. This LA Kings team looks extremely strong right now. They are rolling over teams. Even though they lost last night, they were out shooting Pittsburgh at one point 20-5. His projection this season, 25 goals, 200 plus shots, and 80 hits. Very strong numbers from the guy that's just 5% rostered. I think the upside can be even higher with Kaliyev. It really is contingent on his power play minutes, but what we saw last night, they were splitting power play 1A and power play 1B, and Arthur Kaliyev was on that second power play unit and played about half the time. The minutes are there, the upside's there. He could be a guy that is a dark horse 30 goal scorer. He's a must-have player in 14 plus team leagues. I hope we finally see the season of Arthur Kaliyev. That will do it for the week 6 must-add players video. I hope you enjoyed the video, guys. We're going to be pumping out content over the next little bit, so stay tuned for that. Thank you for watching as always, and we'll see you in the next video.